Hello, my name is Alex Prusman. This is our contemporary policing class. I'm going to do my innovative project presentation over a program that I created called Books and Badges, and it is an offshoot of many other programs throughout the country that I have put my own spin on. And this is being implemented at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office in Webster City, Iowa, and it was established in 2016. Why was it a need? Well, it was a need for positive reinforcement between relationships of kids, students, parents, and teachers. The media at the time, if we can all remember right, was pretty harsh on law enforcement. There was a lot of things going on that were bringing negative outlook and negative light to policing. And the children were getting taught at a very early age to distrust the police. And it wasn't necessarily that alone, but it was the fact of, in my research, it is known that through the National Medical Journal, that children start to form their opinions as early as preschool and younger. So it really needs to be sought that the relationships be bonded as early as possible. But that doesn't leave the adults out of it. The adults also can be retrained, and they can be retrained to the fact that not all police are bad. The amount of positive interaction between police and people was decreasing that I saw, so we needed more programs that brought the positive relationships back together. So why was this specific program created? Back in 2016, I had a daughter in preschool, and they were doing a week-long project on public safety. Everyone loved the firefighters, the EMS, but when police officers got brought up, a little girl in the class, albeit she does not know any better, said that police only take bad guys to jail and they're bad guys. They're bad guys. Police officers are bad guys. Well, unbeknownst to her was that my daughter was in there, and she obviously knows that I'm a police officer, and my wife at the time was a paraeducator in that class, and she took it upon herself to kind of use a teaching moment. And she let the students know that Paisley, my daughter, had a father that was a police officer, and he was not a bad guy. He was somebody that took people to jail only when they needed to, and otherwise all the other interactions that I would have, that she was talking about, were positive ones, and that I was a needed resource within the county. And as you can tell in these pictures, the first one to the one on the left is me reading a book to the preschool class, and me on my right would be letting what would be the ELC, which is the Early Learning Center, look at my badge at that time and my other stuff on my shirt. And so you may be asking yourself, this is really innovative. And I chose to stay close to home because it's a program that I created that I like to say is very innovative. It's based on other programs in the country. This is not the one way to do it, but I took from other people's programs and I likened them to what would work for my schools and the relationships that I needed to set forth. I've seen in my own research of the program itself, the relationships are very positive and they're lifelong. The kids that started were in preschool in 2016 are now in 4th, 5th grade, and they still remember me. They still talk to me. They still want to be around me. They still tell me things. They still go out of their way to say hi to me. So in that essence, it's very much so humanized the badge, while also letting them know that public safety is still my job. However, it is not my only thing to do is to be a bad guy. So my innovative thinking about this whole thing was that I was going to take a program, get into the schools as early as possible, and I was going to reshape the opinions and the thoughts that these young kids were having about police officers. Because it just broke my heart when that little girl thought all police officers were just bad people. And that's being told to her at home, or it's being shown to her on the news or some media outlets. And while we all know there are some bad apples, for the most part, we are all good people that are doing this out of the goodness of our hearts for reasons to protect and to better our areas that we serve and we live in. Now, in our program, we were supposed to pick one that promoted community trust, provided resources, or aiding in crime detection and solving. And mine actually does all three. That's why I think this innovative program is so cutting edge, in my opinion. Now, how it promotes community trust. As you can see, there's pictures of me with, I believe at this time, these were third graders at the time, which is funny to look at because they are now sixth graders, and I can name about every single one of them that are in there. Albeit it's a very small class, but they know me. They know I'm a good person. They know other people who dress like me, as in my uniform, are good people. They're people they can trust and go to. I would go in there, and as you can see, I read a book to them that they choose. It's got to be about a certain topic, but they choose it, and I read a book to them, and we are allowed to just talk. And they can see that I'm not just this person that has a badge on. I'm an actual person with a heart, and I want them to trust me in a way that they can come to me with whatever they have. Doing this with the children will overflow into the parents. If the kids are coming home saying, "Oh my gosh, I met Officer Alex," is what they called me. I met Officer Alex today, and we talked about bullying, and they talked to their parents about what they learned about, or we talked about internet safety or any of the given topics that I've talked about before. If they go home and start to talk to their parents about it, their parents can then also get this feeling of, oh, that Officer Alex is a good person. He's teaching our kids good things. He's becoming a trustworthy adult that they can go to if they see. And that's one thing I always told these kids. I go, my real name is Alex. You can come to me whenever you see me. I don't have to be in uniform. You can, if I'm in the grocery store, if I'm at the movies with my kids, and if you have something to tell me, your time is valuable, and I will always listen to you. That's what the one thing I want them to always remember, is that I'm always here for them. And that alone takes the first step in the trust development. Now, with trust, I build relationships. As I was talking about before, I build relationships, and the preschool class was the one that really set me to make this program. That little girl who's dunking me in the face with a pie is Paisley, my daughter. This is the first year that it was in effect, and this was the reward for learning their important facts, which was their name, address, parents' real names, not just mom and dad, and a phone number. And if they learned all those things, they got to pie me in the face repeatedly. And she just happened to be able to go first because she's my daughter and was in the class. But showing this to the kids, that police are human, do wonders for the communities we serve. This also provides alternative resources for people, because not only would I talk about topics like bullying, internet usage, drug usage, depending on the classroom, I would give them pamphlets on information. I would give them stuff to take home to their parents. I would give their parents phone numbers and names and numbers to talk to. Most of all, being me, if they had a question, they could come to me about any topic possible. Because like I said, this program would be all the way from preschool to the early learning centers, which is before school, all the way to third grade. So the range of topics we would talk about was pretty big, all from sharing toys to drugs. Because as we all know, in third grade, surprisingly, there are a lot of kids who know a lot about drugs. And so we have to talk about that even at that early of an age, which is sad too. But if I'm creating their resource of a trusted adult, that's the number one thing. They can get research from me. I have the ability to get my hands on more research for them. And this whole innovative program was kind of like a self-reflection on my program, and it was the research that I have done and my life skills that I have seen, and it's tested by myself by doing the program itself. And so I provide the alternative resources just by the topics we talk about, the information I give out, and the books we even read that have the good stories behind them. Now, it also aids in solving crimes. Because you build trust, because you give them the resources, because you have the more interaction, if they see a crime, these kids, these parents, they're going to come to you and feel safe talking to you about this stuff. They're going to be able to tell you that their uncle was using methamphetamine. They're going to be able to tell you that they saw somebody stealing from the grocery store, but were too scared to tell anybody else. And that's just the kids. This also affects the teachers, because if the teachers see you, and I've seen this personally, the teachers see you in the classroom, they begin to have a bigger trust with you, and they come to you when they see something wrong. So with positive relationships from children, parents, and teachers, the ability to information share is far greater. The networking that comes from this type of program is just unmatched. And does it really do all three? Again, this is just a class that came to do a sheriff's office tour where they learned about all the stuff I'm talking about. And so it does promote trust, it does aid in solving crimes, and it does give them more resources that they didn't have before, which is the goal of the program. The goal of the program is to be self-sufficient and to create positive relationships with children, teachers, and parents, which it's doing. Again, this is another, on the left is me, on my left, it's me showing my cop car to the students, which is another reward they got for learning their information. And the other picture is me reading to the preschool class in my full gear, which I always did, so they could always ask questions about my stuff. Now, I think my program is very innovative. It's different probably because it's one that I didn't research fully on separately, because I research it by doing it. I researched it by putting it into place in the schools. I researched it by changing it year by year to see what works better and what didn't work. And I think I've got a great model that's moving forward, and I'm moving forward with the positive relationships with the kids, students, and teachers, which is what you want with an innovative program. Thank you for listening. That is my presentation.